I mean, it escalated rapidly. So taking showers together and, fondling and kissing. So him kissing me, I mean, like full open mouth, tongue in mouth, kissing. He would put my fingers on his nipples and like tell me to squeeze them. And he would moan and react to that like it felt good. And I liked the feeling that was making him happy, that was pleasing him. And then Michael pulling my pants and my underwear down, pulling them off. And going down and starting to, perform oral sex on me. And I remember him putting my hands on his head when he was down there. I'll never forget the feeling of his hair. That was rough, almost like a Brillo pad.
That's Wade Robson. This kid right here in the picture. Well, I think he's 36 now. Oh man, right now it's March the 4th, 2019, 8:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday. Last night, HBO released a documentary by what's this guy's name? Produced and directed by Dan Reed, HBO's Emmy-nominated 3 Days of Terror, the Charlie Hebdo attacks. I have my, issues with the Hebdo attacks, but I did see that documentary, and Terror at the Mall, which is also a very good documentary as well. So, here's the thing. We all know Michael Jackson was a weirdo. Hey, listen, let's not, he was a weirdo. Does that mean he was a pedophile? The biggest issue people are having with this documentary is it premiered last night, the part 1. Part 2 is available on demand. I don't know when it's premiering on television, but I know they released both parts on demand. I'm going to be watching the second part after this. I know this is, people are like, TstreeT, this is a boxing channel. No, it's not. It's TstreeT Controversy Live. With the last channel I was on, we covered other things. In this case, we're going to be covering this and covering more news. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to make sure you get the boxing that you need for the boxing fans that's going to be bitching. And yes, I'm going to change up my presentation. I'm just trying to figure out how to make it, for like news and shit. Right now, as you can see, FightView360.com, boxing news, results, rumors, thoughts, videos, everything related to boxing we cover. But, I've been having a calling to cover other things. In this case, people are going to say these two guys are lying. This part 1 focuses on the two alleged victims. 40-year-old James Safechuck, whose story to me is more credible than now 36 Wade Robson. Safechuck was 10 at the time when he first started dealing with Michael Jackson, and allegedly he was molested. And Wade Robson was 7. Now, listening to it, it's some dark shit in regards to what they say Michael Jackson's sexual preference and taste was in regards to like licking little boys' butts. And as you can see, performing oral sex on him, and then later on in the episode or the part 1, they're talking about how like as they got older, he wanted to like penetrate him and all kind of like, and it's like, what parents, like, I get it. You're like, he's Michael Jackson, he's a millionaire, but come on, with a man who looks like that and you never see him with no women, why are you letting your kids sleep in the bed with him? And I understand pedophilia, and back during that time, it wasn't really like known the way it is now. But like, now me, big Michael Jackson fan growing up. He visited my elementary school when I was in kindergarten, Frederick Douglass, years and years and years and years ago. I forgot how old I was. That's how old it was. And I remember all of us standing in the hallway, like in like a line, students on one side, another. He just going down the hallway, just smacking all the kids' hands and shit. Like he was really like, for those who grew up back then, he really used to be in like all the schools, traveling around and shit. But the music, I used to be dancing around like Michael Jackson, all that. His music, you know, unlike that R. Kelly motherfucker, I never liked that motherfucker. But with Michael Jackson, his music is timeless, and that's why even people who believe he did it, they say his music, like, even though he did that shit, they believe he did it. They like his music is just above him, you know. But whew, the credibility, though, didn't these two guys accept money? And that's the reason why, you know. And then at one point in time, from my understanding, Wade Robson. In fact, we can look it up on YouTube. Let's go get a little clip of Mr. Robson here. Let's see, Michael Jackson. No, we don't want to look at they got new interviews. It's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube, man. You know, from the maid in Michael Jackson house. You know, see, listening to their stories, this shit sounds credible as fuck. Because it's like, maybe the people aren't, but it's like, wait a minute. And then you got the parents saying this, and then, you know, like, but where's the evidence? I've been a victim of like false charges and shit, and I know people can just make up and say anything. They can just make up and say anything. And then here's the most interesting part right here. Here's a good part. Let me pause to get the timestamp for you, because this is something that can drive people to lie when money dries up. Let me pull this up. Let me pause right here. And I'm going to pull this up, and you're going to hear. It's 2 hours long. This is a 2 hour long documentary, so we should be able to get away with just 2 minutes of audio. But you should listen to this part if you don't have HBO and you can't listen to it or watch it. I'm gonna pause right here. I'll be right back.
You know, I definitely had some sort of idea in my head of the way this was all going to go down once we moved to Los Angeles, that it really was going to be life with Michael.
Here, let me pause this right here. Now, this is toward the end of part one of the documentary, where Wade Robson was, and his mother, let me show you her right here. Right here. They were with Michael Jackson on tour. The father was having some mental health issues, but, you know, long story short, Michael Jackson allegedly had asked the mother, hey, can I keep Wade for a whole year? The mother was like, no, like, you know, even though like we want to chill with you and everything, you Michael Jackson and shit, no, you can't have my son. So then this tug of war allegedly began, and Michael was like, I will keep your son, and, you know, I always get what I want. So what happened was Michael didn't win. They went back to Australia, dealt with some family issues, and basically she knew that to get his career off the ground without Michael, that they needed without Michael, that they needed to move to the United States because they're from Australia. So at this point in time, him and Michael was separated for a while. So he's saying that him and Michael was like, you know, this couple, and, you know, it's bizarre. But listen in. So now what you're listening to is he's moving over to the States, and he's expecting for things to be like they were with him and Michael, where they're all together and every day, but all together and everything every day. But turns out, allegedly, Michael has moved on to Macaulay Culkin. And what I've learned about this documentary is given those overtones, and like they're trying to say Macaulay Culkin or insinuate them that Macaulay Culkin was and the other kid was molested, but they just won't come out. Like, it's weird for HBO to do that. But hey, you know, it's not that they're doing anything illegal. It's just like what's called a thought-provoking documentary, where you can think like, wow, you know, like we're doing right now. Wow, did he do that shit? But listen in.
My head of the way this was all going to go down once we moved to Los Angeles, that it really was going to be life with Michael. So I remember being shocked when the first place we went to live was like an Oakwood Apartments, which is kind of like a part-time residence sort of thing. And it was at least a week, maybe a couple of weeks after we moved before I saw Michael. And that was really hard for me. Here I was in this new place in America and in Los Angeles, but now it's like we were alone.
I knew straight away that things were different. First up, when we got there, they said that the Oakwoods had not been paid for. I needed to give them a credit card. And I'm like, no. I said, well, you have to give me a credit card till we can sort it out tonight. And that was unusual for them. They usually had us pretty well looked after. Michael had talked about bringing him to do the black or white video. And then they called and said, we're going to rent you a car so that you can drive yourself to the studios, which was unusual as well. And then when we got to the studios to do this, then we realized
he started
why.
getting shady. They show up.
I believe the first time we saw each other after we moved was his black or white music video, which I was going to dance in. That experience was really hard for me.
So basically, they're trying to say that, they come there and, Mike's supposed to be taking care of him. He's not taking care of him no more. He still take care of him a little bit, but not taking care of him like, they used to being taken care of. And then by the time they go to this shoot for the black and white video, Macaulay Culkin is front and center, like getting all the love, right? And what, we're learning is that still, Michael Jackson still generates a lot of money and still generates a lot of buzz, where HBO, who has better documentaries than HBO? And yes, Netflix is catching up, but HBO is motherfucking Paradise Lost, the Jinx, those autopsy joints, the Iceman killers, the Rikers Island joint. What's that? The one about the drugs. What's the one about the drugs? The old one, like the graphic one. Where like they were like prostituting for drugs and everything. Like that's just like not even the tip of the iceberg. I was a little disappointed in the Slender Man one, but HBO documentaries, I'd be on them joints, all of them. Especially the gritty ones. So with they have a lot of credibility in that area, but a lot of fans are pissed because we learned really, it was from the side of the victims. Yes, yes, that's what they're focusing on, is the side of the alleged victims. And I gotta admit, man, this shit sounds. I love Michael Jackson, but this shit sounds shady as shit to me, man. Like, because I'm thinking, like, man. Let me talk to the homies, man. Excuse my language. Let's talk locker room talk as we were like men together, right? Remember that song, Timex Social Club, where he was like, something. If Michael Jackson wasn't gay, he wouldn't be that way. And it's like we don't never see him with no hoes. Like, excuse me for the older people. It's like, to younger people. We ain't never see Mike with no bitches. We heard motherfucking Brooke Shields was on him. Like, and who the chick? One chick tried to it was the rumor she tried to suck him off, and he just was like, no. But usually what they say about abusers, sexual abusers, is that they were usually, they were like abused before. A good portion of them were abused before, and then they turned into abusers. We know that Michael was physically abused, but was he sexually abused? And can being physically abused turn you into a sexual abuser? Or like the fact that he was a man stuck in a child in a man's body that he was experimenting. Either way, it's just I gotta watch part 2. A lot of people are not going to like this documentary because it's like you're not being presented with hard evidence, just the testimonies of the alleged victims. But one thing for sure is Safechuck sounds more credible than Robson to me. But I'm not, like, when I cover these videos and when I do cover stuff like this, I'm not stupid. I'm not gonna sit up here and shame the victims and shit. Same thing with that Jussie Smollett asshole. Look at him. He deserves everything he got coming and more. But with the Michael J, it kept coming up. It kept coming up. You know? But people holding to it, they like, listen, but Macaulay ain't say he was with him. But also, some people are going to argue, well, Mike wouldn't fuck with Macaulay because Macaulay was big time. You see, if Macaulay would have talked, then, that shit would have kaboom. Especially Macaulay was big time, at that time. So a lot of people are going to argue that. I don't want to believe none of this shit, but, you got to listen. You can't be closed-minded in this world, man. That's why the world is the way it is. You got to have an open mind. And you got to listen. And I'm listening. So I'm going to watch part 2. Like I said, I watch all HBO documentaries. They got something, a 4-part crime joint I missed out on. I ain't seen no ads or anything. But the documentary, it's 2 parts. It's called Leaving Neverland. And it's on HBO On Demand. These are the 2 victims right here. This is Safechuck and Wade Robson. I'm hoping that the second part, we gotta watch it. And I'm gonna do a review. And then I'm gonna do some boxing videos. I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live with FightView360.com. And yes, we're covering more than just boxing. Please subscribe.
It was very obvious to me that Macaulay had taken Wade's place in Michael's best friend category. So that was very hurtful, broke Wade's heart. But it made me realize that if things were going to happen, we have to get busy and do it ourselves.